They say weddings are the happiest day in a mother's life. But for me, it was the day my entire world cracked open. Hours before my son was supposed to say "I do," I got a message that made my stomach turn cold. It wasn't from a number I recognized. There was no name, no greeting, no warning, just one line in all caps. "Don't say anything to your son, check your son's garage." At first, I thought it was a prank. I even laughed. My husband Carl was shaving in the bathroom when I read it out loud, joking, "Some idiot must have texted the wrong number." But something in my voice made him stop mid-swipe. "What did it say?" I showed him the screen. He frowned. "That's odd. Who would know about the garage?" Exactly. My son Nathan never gave his garage code to anyone outside the family. It was his private space, his sanctuary. He kept it locked tighter than Fort Knox. As I stared at the message, a weird feeling crept into my spine. The wording wasn't random. Whoever sent it didn't say, "a garage" or "check the garage." They said, "your son's garage." Like they knew me, knew Nathan, knew something. Carl said, "It's probably nothing. We're just nervous. Big day and all." He tried to brush it off, but I couldn't. My fingers were already tapping out a reply. "Who is this?" I typed. Nothing. I waited 5 minutes. Still nothing. I stared at the message again. "Don't say anything to your son. Check your son's garage." I didn't know why, but I grabbed my keys. Carl asked, "Are you seriously going over there?" I didn't answer. I just said, "If I don't check, I'll think about it all day." My son's wedding was in 5 hours. I was already in my robe, rollers still in my hair, makeup half done. But I got in the car. I drove across town, telling myself I was being silly, telling myself it was probably a wrong number or a joke. Or maybe Nathan had planned a surprise gift in the garage and one of his friends sent the message to throw me off. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. Something didn't sit right. When I pulled up to Nathan's house, everything looked normal. The front yard was trimmed. The driveway was clean. His fiancée's car was gone, probably already at the venue. I walked up the side gate and punched in the garage code. Wrong. I tried again. Wrong. My heart picked up speed. He'd changed the code. Why? My hands started sweating. I tried the back entrance. Locked. I went to the kitchen door. Also locked. I was about to give up when I remembered Nathan always kept a spare key under a fake rock by the hydrangeas. I'd scolded him about it 100 times. "You might as well put up a sign that says, 'Break in here.'" But he never listened. I found the rock. The key was still there. The metal felt cold in my hand. I opened the door, stepped into the kitchen and called out softly, "Nathan?" Silence. I stood there for a moment. My hands trembled, slightly. Then I walked toward the garage door. There was a key rack by the fridge. One of the hooks had a label that said "Garage." I took the key, unlocked the door, and stepped into the darkness. The smell hit me first. It wasn't gas or oil or musty old cardboard. It was something else, sharp, sweet, rotten. I flipped on the light. What I saw made my knees buckle. At first I thought it was a mannequin. It was a woman. Her back was to me, tied to a chair. Her head drooped forward, limp. I screamed. I didn't mean to. The sound ripped out of me before I could stop it. I backed away, crashing into a shelf of tools. A hammer clattered to the floor. The woman didn't move. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Then my eyes landed on her dress. Pale pink, lacy, familiar. I'd seen it 2 weeks ago, hanging in a bridal boutique window. Nathan's fiancée had shown it to me on Pinterest. My heart nearly stopped. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." But it was her. Her hair was the same. Her shoes were still on, one heel broken. My son's bride. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled back into the kitchen and dropped my phone. I picked it up with shaking hands and tried calling 911, but my fingers were all over the place. The phone slipped again. I leaned against the wall, gasping for air. That's when I noticed something on the kitchen table, a red folder with one word written in black marker, Mom. I stared at it, then slowly reached out and opened it. The first page was a printout of emails, dozens of them, between my son and someone named A. The next was a picture. A grainy image of Nathan, standing with another woman, holding hands, kissing, over and over, different dates, different places. The woman wasn't his fiancée. I kept turning the pages, and that's when I saw it. A marriage certificate. Dated 6 months ago. Same groom, different bride. My scream caught in my throat. That's when the front door slammed shut. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. I wasn't alone anymore. The sound of those footsteps paralyzed me. They were slow, measured, coming closer, not rushed, not hesitant, just confident. Like the person walking down the hallway already knew I was there, like they wanted me to hear them. I couldn't run. My knees were still locked. My mind screamed move, but my body wouldn't obey. I was frozen at the kitchen counter, clutching the red folder like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. The footsteps stopped just outside the kitchen door. I could see a shadow on the floor. A man's shoes, brown leather, shined, the kind Nathan wore when he wanted to impress someone. And then I heard his voice. Calm. Cold. Calculated. I was wondering how long it would take for you to open that. My head snapped up. Nathan stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. Not angry, not surprised. Just blank. I didn't recognize my son. "What is this?" I whispered. "What's going on?" He looked at the folder in my hands. "You weren't supposed to see that until after the wedding, but I guess plans change." I couldn't breathe. "Nathan, what did you do?" He walked into the kitchen, slow and quiet, like a predator. "You never listened to me, Mom. You always thought you knew best. Even when I begged you not to marry Dad, you did. Even when I told you I didn't want to be like him, you pushed me. You pushed me into this life. This mask." "Where is she?" I snapped. "Where's Emily? What's she doing in that garage?" He tilted his head slightly. "Emily?" Then he smiled. "Ah, you still think that's Emily out there?" My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" He stepped closer. "That's not Emily. That's Ashley, my wife." My vision blurred. "Your what? Your wife? You're marrying Emily today?" "No," he said firmly. "I'm marrying Emily publicly today. But Ashley and I have been married since February. Quietly. Legally. She knew the deal. We agreed it wouldn't interfere with the other wedding. Until she got jealous." I dropped the folder. "You're joking. This is insane. What is wrong with you?" He stepped closer. "Ashley threatened to go public. To tell Emily everything. She thought she could ruin me. She thought love gave her power. And you, what did you do to her?" I whispered. "Is she alive?" His eyes darkened. "She was alive when I tied her up. She may still be. I didn't kill her if that's what you're asking. But I had to stop her, Mum. Everything I've built, everything we've worked for, is on the line." "We?" I shouted. "What do you mean, we?" His jaw tightened. "Dad knows. Not all the details, but enough. He helped with the prenups, helped set up the dummy companies. He knew I needed leverage, protection. I'm not like him, but I learned from him." "Oh my God," I breathed. "You've lost your mind." Nathan didn't flinch. "No. I've found my path. I'm not the boy you raised anymore." I reached for my phone, but he was faster. He snatched it out of my hand and tossed it in the sink. "You're not calling anyone, not until I explain." "Explain what?" I snapped. "That you're a monster." "That I'm a survivor," he said coldly, "and you're going to help me." Help you? Are you insane? You're going to go to that wedding, smile, and pretend everything is fine. You're going to stand beside Emily and bless our marriage. And then after the honeymoon, Ashley will be gone. Quietly. Permanently. She'll sign the NDA, take the settlement, and disappear. No one has to know. And if I don't, I asked, if I walk out of here and go straight to the police? Nathan's voice dropped low. Then you'll never see your granddaughter again. My breath caught. What did you say? He stepped even closer. Ashley had a baby, Mum. She didn't tell anyone, not even me, until last week. She thought it would change things, make me leave Emily, start fresh. But I have plans. That baby is part of them. And unless you want to lose everything, you'll follow instructions. My legs gave out. I slid to the floor, heart pounding, mind spinning. A baby, a hidden marriage, a woman tied up in the garage. My son, my own child, had become something unrecognizable. I looked up at him through tears. Nathan, please. This isn't you. He crouched down, eyes hard. It is now. He stood and walked to the fridge, poured himself a glass of orange juice, and drank it like we were discussing the weather. Then he turned back and tossed a small envelope at me. That's the speech you're going to give during the wedding toast. I wrote it for you. Practice it. Be convincing. I stared at the envelope like it was laced with poison. You think you can force me to lie for you? He smirked. I don't think. I know. Then he walked out of the kitchen, leaving me on the floor, shattered. But the worst wasn't over. Not yet. Because as I sat there trying to gather my thoughts, I heard something faint, something coming from the garage. It was a voice, weak, gasping. Help! Me! I ran. I bolted toward the garage like my body had finally remembered how to move. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else, but the voice was still there, faint, dry, desperate. Help! Please! It was a woman. Ashley. She was alive. I fumbled with the garage door, nearly dropping the key. My fingers were shaking so violently it took 3 tries before I got it in. I pushed the door open and stumbled in, the sour stench of sweat and panic slamming into me like a wall. The light above flickered as I stepped inside. She was still there, slumped in the same position, but now her fingers twitched slightly, and I saw her lips moving. Ashley? I whispered. Her head jerked a little, her eyes barely open. Water! I ran to her. She was bound tightly to the chair with zip ties around her wrists and ankles. Her skin was pale, lips cracked, and her face, God, her face was bruised. I gasped. Oh my God! Ashley, I'm here. I'm going to get you out. She blinked slowly, tears running down the side of her face. He said, if I talk. I knelt beside her, pulling a pocket knife from the utility drawer and carefully cutting at the zip ties. Shh, it's okay. He's not here right now. We're going to get you help. The baby, she whimpered. He took the baby. I froze. What? He told me he'd take her if I ever told anyone. I didn't know he would do this. Her voice broke and she started sobbing. I finally cut through the last restraint and caught her as she slumped forward into my arms. I'm getting you out of here, I said. We're going to the hospital, the police, everything. No police, she whispered. He'll kill her. He said he has people. He'll know. Ashley, listen to me, I said firmly. You've been through hell, but right now, I need you to trust me. If we stay quiet, he wins, and he'll do worse. I've seen it in his eyes. He's not my little boy anymore. She nodded weakly. Okay. I helped her into the kitchen, trying to keep her upright. I grabbed a bottle of water and helped her sip. She flinched at every sound, every creak in the walls. Where's the baby? I asked. Do you know where he's keeping her? She nodded. His friend, Mitch, in the hills. He said no one would find her there. He has a camera. He watches her remotely. Jesus, I breathed. Ashley, we need a plan. You can't stay here, and I can't go to the wedding pretending everything's okay. You have to, she said hoarsely. He's watching you. He has cameras. I heard him say he put one in your car, another in your dress bag. If you do anything out of routine, he'll know. And then, she's gone. A chill ran down my spine. You're telling me I have to go to this wedding and pretend nothing happened while he holds your baby hostage? She nodded. Just long enough for someone else to act. You can't do it alone. But maybe someone he doesn't expect. I looked at her, a new idea forming. I grabbed my phone from the sink and cursed. It was soaked. Dead. Does Nathan still talk to his college roommate? The quiet one? Theo? Ashley blinked. Yeah. They had a falling out, but Theo always warned me. He said Nathan was hiding things. Good, I said. Then he's our best shot. I helped Ashley lie down on the couch in the den, gave her a blanket, and told her to stay quiet. I'll make it seem like I never came here. I'll go to the wedding, smile, pretend. But once I'm inside, I'll find Theo. She grabbed my hand weakly. He'll try to stop you. Be careful. I nodded. I'm his mother. He thinks he knows me. That's his mistake. I left through the back, careful to reset the fake rock and wipe the doorknob with my sleeve. I returned to my car and saw something that made my blood turn to ice. There was a tiny black device clipped under the side mirror. A tracker. He really was watching me. I kept my face neutral, got in, and drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I rehearsed my mask. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I looked like the perfect mother of the groom. Carl was already in his tux. Where have you been? He asked. I went to double-check the flowers, I lied. The florist sent a text that they were wrong. False alarm. He raised an eyebrow but didn't press. I knew then. Carl knew more than he'd ever admitted. Maybe he didn't know about Ashley. Maybe he didn't know about the baby. But he knew Nathan was dangerous. And he'd chosen to look away. I went upstairs and got dressed. The dress felt heavier than ever. The makeup felt like war paint. I looked at myself in the mirror and whispered, "You've got 2 hours. Don't break." At the church, everything was perfect. White flowers, gold runners, soft music playing, people smiling, laughing, and my son, standing at the altar like a prince. I spotted Theo 3 rows back, alone, glasses, nervous. I walked over casually and sat beside him. "Hi, Theo," I whispered. He looked startled. "Mrs. Wright. Congratulations." "Thank you," I said, smiling like everything was normal. "Do you still talk to Nathan?" "Not really," he said carefully. "We grew apart." "Because of Ashley?" I asked. He blinked. "How did you—" "She's safe, for now. I need your help." His expression changed instantly. Serious, focused. "What do you need?" "There's a baby, a tracker, a man named Mitch. We need to move fast." He nodded. "I've got a friend in cybercrime. Give me 5 minutes." I stood up, smiling again, and returned to the front pew. Nathan saw me. His expression was calm, but his eyes scanned me too long. He knew something. And I knew then. This game had to end before sunset. Because if it didn't, more than one life would be lost. I sat down and waited for Theo's return, heart pounding like a drum in a funeral march. I sat on the edge of the pew, clutching my small handbag as though it were a lifeline, my heart pounding in my ears. The elegant music, the soft murmur of the crowd, the crisp rustle of dresses and suits, it all faded into background noise. I was watching Theo 3 rows back. He'd taken out his phone and was typing something fast. His eyes were locked on the screen, his brow furrowed. Then he stood up, casually, calmly, like nothing was wrong. He slipped out the side aisle, disappearing into the lobby of the church. My stomach tightened. I needed him to move fast. The wedding was minutes away from starting, and Nathan was watching me like a hawk. I turned my head slightly and met his gaze. His lips curved into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I forced a smile back. The ceremony coordinator waved at us from the side, signaling it was time. Emily was about to arrive. Nathan walked to the altar, his groomsmen falling in behind him like obedient shadows. My husband, Carl, was chatting with some relatives, too relaxed for a man whose son had a woman tied up in a garage. I felt disgust boiling in my stomach, but I couldn't let it show. Not yet. The music changed. Everyone stood. The double doors opened, and there she was, Emily, walking in radiant white, holding her father's arm. She looked beautiful, innocent, heartbreakingly unaware of the trap she was walking into. My fingers dug into my clutch. I had no idea what Theo had found, if anything. But I knew I had to hold it together. At least until we bought more time. The officiant began speaking, his voice booming across the cathedral. I couldn't hear a word of it. My eyes kept darting toward the back of the church. Theo hadn't come back yet. That wasn't good. Nathan and Emily were now standing together, facing each other, hands gently touching. A vision of the perfect couple. A complete lie. I started to feel dizzy. I needed to breathe. I slowly rose from my seat, pretending to cough lightly, and stepped quietly out of the front pew. Carl turned toward me, his face confused. I whispered, "Just need air." He nodded. I walked out, heart hammering, and rushed down the side corridor. I found Theo in the coat room, pacing. "What did you find?" I hissed. He looked up. "A lot. His friend Mitch? Real name's Mitchell Reyes. 3 priors. 1 open case. He owns a cabin 30 minutes north. No cell coverage, but there's satellite internet. And a camera feed. He's been accessing it from his phone." "The baby?" I asked. "Did you see her?" "Yes," Theo said, pulling up his phone. He showed me a still image, a small girl, maybe 5 or 6 months old, lying in a portable crib in a wooden room, alone. My knees nearly gave out. "Where is this place?" "Here," he said, dropping a pin on the map. "I've already sent it to my friend in law enforcement. He's off duty, but he's going now with 2 others. Unofficial, but fast. Is she okay?" "Looks unharmed, but alone. Mitch must have left to come here." "What?" I froze. "You think he's at the wedding?" "Yeah," Theo said. "I saw him earlier. Tall guy in a grey suit, buzz cut, sitting near the exit doors. I think he's watching for you." My mind raced. If he sees Ashley missing or me acting strange, he'll call Nathan. Theo nodded. "Which means we have to keep going like nothing's wrong." "No," I said quietly. "We have to end this now, before the vows." "You'll be putting Emily in danger." "She's already in danger," I snapped. "If she marries him, she's legally bound to a man who tied up his wife and kidnapped his own child. If he finds out we've exposed him, he'll burn everything." Theo looked at me. "Then what's the plan?" "You get the footage," I said. "Your friend needs to intercept the baby, secure her. Then we end the wedding at the altar." "You sure?" "Positive." Theo nodded and walked out, his phone pressed to his ear. I stood for a second, grounding myself. Then I walked back in, breath steady, expression calm. I returned to my seat just as the officiant said, "If anyone here has reason why these 2 should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace." I stood up. The whole room turned. Emily looked startled. Nathan's face froze. I cleared my throat. "I do." A gasp echoed. The silence was sharp. The officiant stuttered. "Ma'am, this is—" "I said I do," I repeated. Nathan's jaw clenched. "Mum, sit down." "No," I said. "This wedding cannot continue, because the groom is already married." The room exploded in gasps and murmurs. Emily stared at Nathan, stunned. "What is she talking about?" Nathan laughed, loud and fake. "She's confused. My mother's been unwell lately." "Your wife's name is Ashley," I said. walking down the aisle now. "She's tied up in your garage. I saw her. I spoke to her." The crowd erupted. Carl stood up. "Susan, what are you doing?" I kept going. "And there's a baby, a little girl, hidden away in a remote cabin. Your granddaughter, Emily." Nathan stepped toward me, his face darkening. "You need to stop right now." "Or what?" I said. "You'll threaten me like you threatened Ashley. Or Mitch will take the baby and disappear." A voice called out from the back. "He's gone!" a man shouted. "The guy in the grey suit! He just bolted out the side exit." Theo came rushing in seconds later. "They have the baby," he said, panting. "She's safe." Nathan lunged, straight at me, but two men from the audience tackled him before he got close. Guests screamed. Emily collapsed onto the floor, sobbing, her father rushing to her side. Carl just sat down slowly, rubbing his forehead, unable to speak. Within minutes, police swarmed the building. Someone had already called them when I stood up. Nathan was cuffed, his head bowed, still silent. But his eyes stayed locked on mine, burning with something deeper than hate. Something like betrayal. I didn't look away. I couldn't. Emily was taken out, crying in her mother's arms. Guests stood around in shocked silence. A wedding destroyed, a secret revealed. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Because as I sat down to finally catch my breath, Theo leaned in and whispered something that made me feel cold all over again. "There's one more thing. The baby? Her birth certificate was just updated last week. Nathan changed the name on it." "To what?" I asked. Theo showed me the photo. It said, "Father, Nathan Wright. Mother, unknown. Custody, sole." I stared at the word, unknown. "Why would he do that?" "I don't know," Theo said, "but something tells me Ashley isn't the only one he's hiding things from." I looked toward the doors as the police led Nathan out. He didn't resist, didn't speak. But the way he smiled just before they pushed him into the car chilled me to the core. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because monsters like Nathan, they don't go down quietly. The wedding was supposed to end with rings, a kiss, applause. Instead, it ended with sirens screaming and my son being led away in cuffs while my daughter-in-law collapsed in sobs beside a shattered bouquet of white lilies. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Not because I wasn't broken, but because I knew the moment I started, I might never stop. I stood in the lobby of the church, staring out the glass doors, as red and blue lights reflected off marble floors. Guests trickled out, stunned and whispering. Some stared at me like I was the villain. Others couldn't even meet my eyes. I didn't care. I looked over my shoulder and saw Emily, surrounded by her mother, two bridesmaids and a paramedic. Her veil was gone. Her mascara had streaked halfway down her face. She looked like someone who'd aged 5 years in 15 minutes. Her mother saw me and walked over. Her heels clicked like hammers on tile. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" she hissed. "You let her walk down the aisle with that... I didn't know the full story until hours ago," I said calmly, "and I risked everything to stop it." "She was in love with him," the woman said through gritted teeth. "You didn't just ruin a wedding, you ruined her life." "No," I said softly. "Nathan did that. I just revealed it." She turned and walked away, scooping her daughter up into a bitter embrace. I closed my eyes and exhaled. Then Theo appeared beside me. "We need to go," he said. "Now." "What happened?" "Ashley's gone." "What?" I gasped. "Gone how?" "She left the safe house. No one saw her leave. The officer guarding her stepped into the kitchen for 1 minute. When he came back, empty couch." "But why would she?" I froze. "No." "She left a note," Theo said. He pulled out a crumpled paper from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. I opened it. "Susan, thank you for saving me. But this isn't over. Not for me. I need to disappear. Before Nathan's reach finds me again, please protect my daughter. She's all I have left. I know I'm not safe. But if I stay, she won't be either. I'll find you when it's safe. A. I read it twice, then a third time, then my knees buckled and Theo caught me. She ran, I whispered. She doesn't trust the law. Can you blame her? He said quietly. Nathan's smart, connected, money buried in offshore accounts, legal loopholes we probably haven't even uncovered yet. Do they still have the baby? Yes, Theo said. They've got her with Child Protective Services for now, but someone will need to claim her. Legally. I stared at him. She's my granddaughter. You'd have to petition for custody. Might take time. She's not staying with strangers, I said firmly. I'll take her. You'll be putting a target on your back. I already did the moment I opened that garage door. He nodded slowly. Then I'll help. Carl walked up then. His face was pale, sweat on his forehead. Susan, we need to talk. Now? I snapped. Everything is on fire and you want to chat. I knew, he said, just like that. Flat, cold, true. You what? I knew about Ashley. I knew there was another woman. I didn't know about the baby or the garage or the violence. But I knew he was leading two lives. I stepped toward him. And you said nothing? He told me he had it under control, that he was protecting our name, our legacy. He made me promise to stay out of it. You let him destroy that girl's life, I whispered. You let him use a woman as a pawn, and you smiled through it. I thought it would all settle down after the wedding, he muttered. He said Ashley would go quietly. She almost died. I turned and walked away. There was nothing left to say. I didn't care if we shared a last name. Carl was no longer part of my family. I drove to the CPS centre alone. The baby, my granddaughter, was asleep in a blanket with cartoon clouds on it when I arrived. The social worker looked at me with a mixture of suspicion and sympathy. She doesn't have a name in the system, the woman said. Just baby girl Wright. I looked at the child. My breath caught. She had Nathan's nose, but her eyes, they were soft, deep, like Ashley's. Can I hold her? The woman nodded. I reached down and lifted the baby into my arms. She stirred, yawned, and nestled against my chest. You're safe now, I whispered. I've got you. Are you family? The social worker asked. Grandmother. And your intention? To raise her, protect her, love her. Do you have legal paperwork? Not yet, I said. But I'll get it. She nodded. Then you'll need to stay nearby. We'll start the emergency foster paperwork with you as guardian. It's temporary, but it gives you custody until a court reviews it. I understand, I said. I'll stay as long as I have to. I left with the baby. She fell asleep in the back seat as I drove to my sister's house on the edge of town. My phone rang 3 times. Carl, Nathan's lawyer, an unknown number. I ignored them all. I wasn't ready to speak, not until I knew what came next. At my sister's place, I fed the baby, changed her, and watched her sleep. The room was quiet, soft lamplight glowing against the walls. For the first time in days, I felt peace. Until my phone buzzed again. A message, no name, just a number, and a line of text. She's not yours. I stared at it, the words burning into my brain. I tapped reply. Who is this? Another text came through instantly. You think this is over? It's not. Check the envelope inside your purse. My hands started shaking. I opened my bag. There, beneath the tissue, was a small brown envelope I hadn't noticed before. My name was written in block letters. I opened it. Inside was a photo. Of me. Holding the baby. Taken just hours ago outside the CPS office. The angle. High. Far away. A rooftop shot. Then I pulled out a second photo. It was Ashley, sitting in a car, alone, looking directly into the lens. Behind her, another figure, fuzzy, watching. The message written on the back of the photo made me go cold. We're always watching. I dropped the photo and looked out the window. Nothing. Just trees, silence, darkness. But I knew. Whoever sent the original message, the one that warned me to check the garage, they weren't finished. Maybe they'd helped me once. Maybe they'd turned against me now. I clutched the baby to my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I whispered, "Let them come. I'm not afraid of the dark anymore." But I was wrong. Because the next morning, when I woke up and checked my phone again, a new message was waiting. "You think she's Ashley's? She isn't." I stared at the screen, rereading the message like it might change if I blinked enough. "You think she's Ashley's? She isn't." What did that even mean? I looked at the baby, peacefully sleeping in the portable bassinet next to the bed, a soft wheeze rising from her tiny chest with each breath. She looked just like Nathan. That much was clear. But now, the question I hadn't dared to ask was clawing at the door. Who was her mother? I texted back, "Who are you? Prove it." No reply. I stood and paced the room. My sister was downstairs with the baby monitor. I needed answers. Now. If the child wasn't Ashley's, that meant one thing. Nathan had lied. Again. Which also meant someone else was out there. Someone I didn't know. I grabbed my car keys and drove straight to the only person who might talk. Carl. I didn't want to see him. I barely wanted to breathe the same air. But Carl had known more than he admitted, and now I needed every ounce of it. He opened the door, shirt wrinkled, face unshaven, and eyes red. "Back already?" he asked with a bitter chuckle. "Tell me everything," I snapped. "I already did." "No," I said, stepping inside. "You told me you knew about Ashley. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the baby." He stiffened. "The message said she isn't Ashley's." Carl looked away. "You shouldn't have read that." I froze. "You knew? You knew she wasn't Ashley's child?" "She wasn't supposed to survive," he muttered. "What? What do you mean, survive?" Carl turned, face crumbling. Nathan had another affair. One-night thing. He didn't even remember the girl's name at first. She worked at one of the hotels we invested in. A night manager, 22. Name's Marcy. My throat tightened. "Where is she?" She came to him 6 months ago. Pregnant. Wanted help. Nathan offered money. She refused. Said she didn't want to be paid off. Said she wanted their child to have a father. So he panicked. Said she'd ruin everything. That she had no proof. "What happened?" "She died," Carl whispered. "Car accident. But I don't think it was an accident." My knees went weak. The baby survived. Premature. Nathan had someone falsify the records. He told everyone the baby was Ashley's. Even Ashley didn't know the truth. I backed away slowly. "You let that happen?" I didn't know until it was done. When I confronted him, he just stared at me and said, "It's better this way. Now no one can take her from me." I covered my mouth, trying to stop the scream that wanted to come out. "She's innocent," I whispered, "and now she's got no one left." "She has you," Carl said. "No," I snapped. "She had me, until you buried this truth under your pride." I turned and stormed out. The baby's identity had been erased before she even opened her eyes. Her mother, gone. Her father, in prison. Her grandparents, cowards and liars. And yet, she had to live. I drove straight to the courthouse. I filed emergency guardianship papers, submitted every document Theo had collected, and handed over every piece of evidence I had. I told the clerk that if anyone tried to challenge custody, I wanted to be notified immediately. Back at my sister's house, the baby was awake. She looked at me with wide brown eyes that carried no knowledge of the evil she'd been born into. I picked her up. She didn't cry. She just stared, studied. And then she smiled. Not big, just a twitch of the lips. But it broke me. I sat down on the floor and cried harder than I had in years. Not for Nathan, Not for Ashley, not for the past. I cried for the baby, for the future, for the mountain we now had to climb. 2 weeks passed. Nathan was denied bail. The police had enough to hold him for multiple charges: false imprisonment, fraud, endangerment, possibly even manslaughter if the investigation into Marcy's death confirmed suspicions. Ashley never resurfaced. But a letter came. No return address, no stamp, just dropped at the door one morning. It read, "Susan, I'm safe. I saw the news. Thank you. Don't try to find me. Not yet. If I ever feel safe again, I'll come back. Love her enough for both of us." A. I kept the letter in a drawer beside the crib. Months passed. The baby grew stronger. She laughed, crawled, pulled my hair and shrieked with delight. Her eyes lit up when she saw me walk into the room. I named her Hope, not because she was a symbol, but because she was a choice. I refused to let her carry the sins of her father. Theo visited often, helped me build security cameras around the house, taught me how to encrypt files, install alerts, stay safe. He became family, the kind you choose. Carl? I never saw him again. He sent one message through his lawyer, saying he wanted a chance to explain. I ignored it. He'd made his choices. So had I. On the 1-year anniversary of the wedding, I received one final letter, this one postmarked from a prison 2 states away. Inside was a single page, handwritten. "Mother, you always underestimated me. You think this ends with bars and hearings and papers, but some things are deeper than courtrooms and some debts are never paid. Hope is mine. You're just a placeholder. But don't worry. I'm very patient. Enjoy your time. I will. N." I folded the letter and burned it in the fireplace. Then I walked into Hope's room. She was asleep, clutching a soft toy I'd given her on her first birthday. I stood there, watching her breathe. So small, so unaware, so safe. For now. And I whispered the promise I'd made from the beginning. They can watch, they can threaten, but they'll never touch you again. I will burn the world before I let them. And for the first time since the day of the wedding, I meant it with every bone in my body.